Welcome to Scoop Order Live. It is Sunday night. There are a lot of Game 7s going on, but in the offensive line room at Ohio State, Game 7 was today, and we landed a big fish. Josh Simmons, the redshirt freshman transfer, who actually has 4 years of eligibility left due to the COVID year, is now in-house. He is committed. He's wearing number 71. Big, lengthy guy. Started all the games last year as a freshman. Impressive at San Diego State. I think he's a nice piece of clay, 6'6", 305. Really nice feet. We're going to break his film down. Overall, it's been a massive weekend for Ohio State. 3 commitments this weekend. So that's a pretty nice weekend, fresh off of spring ball as we get into the May recruiting season where these coaches are going to be hitting the road, looking to wrap up 2024 and get eyeballs on 2025 and 2026 talent going into Ohio State. So we're going to take your questions. We're going to break some film down. Talk about the impact of Josh Simmons. Also, Lorenzo Styles Jr. jumped into the boat. Jordan Lyle jumped into the boat. Also, the running back from St. Thomas Aquinas. Huge 3-day stretch for Ryan Day and the Buckeyes. So we're going to get right into it. As always, thank you guys. We appreciate you guys for joining us. As always, we love when you shout out where you guys are from. We got a Colombia. So someone in Median is watching our show, so we appreciate that. We got Japan, Indonesia, Africa, Europe, Canton, Ohio, Naples, Florida, Manhattan Beach, California. Everywhere is watching our Buckeye Scoop programming, so we appreciate you guys. You guys are the best. You guys drive this show. We love your comments, love your compliments. We love all the questions you guys bring, so thank you. If you enjoy this content, please click like on the video. Again, that helps us tremendously. Click subscribe. Text it to your friends. You got all the good stuff going on, so we appreciate you guys as always. So again, we can't thank you guys enough. If you guys enjoy these live shows, click the little alert bell. Every time we go live, you guys will know when we're going. You guys can bring some of the heat and give us some of those great questions. Appreciate you guys. As always, going to bring in my good friend, Nevadabuck. Nevada, how are you?
Well, I'm doing good. I just want our listener down at the club to know I'm on Team Medellin Cartel. Barton's all kind of a Cali Cartel guy, but I'm definitely Team Medellin. So go Medellin Cartel. No, things. This is a good day. Good day for the Buckeyes. I think Lorenzo Styles was a underrated piece of goodness that people aren't quite as excited about, and Josh Simmons is a really big piece of goodness. So lots to be excited about. Lots of good things going on in Ohio State. Ohio State got better over these last 72 hours, and that's hard to do in the offseason, but we definitely got better.
Yeah, like I said, we got a big 6'6" kid with light feet. Looks like he's going to wear number 71. That's what all of his edits have. The funny thing about the transfer portal is Ben Chrisman hit the portal, I think, on Tuesday or Wednesday. He was wearing 71, and then on Friday, they hand them his jersey, and it's like, sorry, nice to know you. It's like you never existed. But that's how it is, man. As soon as you walk out that door, someone probably better is coming in to replace you because of the portal. So that you don't really get stung like you used to when kids would transfer, because now it opens up spots to maybe get a guy who's a little taller, a little longer, has got starting experience in Division I. So I'm excited about it. I think he's going to be a great add to the room. He's a great kid. The more I've researched him, the more I've talked to people around him. Again, I think it's a guy that he's going to be a good fit for the team. And again, everyone's going to project him to start. If you put a gun to my head, I'd say he's our starting right tackle next year. But that being said, if I'm Zen, if I'm Tigra, if I'm George Fitzpatrick, even if I'm Josh Fryer, like I'm sharpening my pencil, man. I'm getting to work. I'm in that weight room at the Woody Hayes tonight, tomorrow morning, all that. It's like, I mean, if there's ever a thing that's great about the situation on the offensive line right now, it is the amount of competition that there is. Again, last year, not as much competition. When you have Paris and Dewan, like that's like, Mike Tyson and Muhammad Ali, so you're not going to beat those guys up. So, but this year, man, I mean, I think that the only spot that's written in ink is Donnie Jackson. Probably could put Matt Jones in a hard pencil just because obviously he's a 6-year guy coming back. So he's like 24 years old playing college football still. So it's going to be hard for him to get beat out. But those tackle spots to me are so wide open. It'll be interesting to see if they put Josh Simmons, who's a little lighter, he's a little taller, a little lighter footed than Josh Fryer, if they try him at left tackle. So again, I wouldn't have projected that Josh Fryer would have been the left tackle. I've said for a million times Donnie Jackson, but the Simmons kid looks like a left tackle, and with Justin and Mickey Marotti kind of getting their claws into him, maybe he's got the ability. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I think that he's a guy that when I watch his tape, he looks like he's a better player than a San Diego State player. especially as young as he is and as technically advanced as he was. I mean, he has some really nice handwork. His sets are good. So, hey, and then you put a better guard next to him in Matt Jones, and who knows what you have. But I'm excited about Nevada. What was your initial reaction when he got here? I know you've been calling him to Ohio State. A lot of people, like you and Bank, were kind of on him for about a week now that he was coming. But your initial reaction when you found out that he was coming to visit, and then when he finally committed.
Well, here's my take. I'm firmly in the boat of I am not convinced he's going to be a starter at Ohio State. Having said that, if he is a starter for Ohio State, that's nothing but good news. And if he isn't a starter for Ohio State, that means that his arrival, as you rightfully mentioned, is just going to be a shot in the arm to Tegra, to George, to Zen, to anybody out there who's playing to say, look, guys, you got to raise the level of your game. We're not happy with the levels where everybody's playing. Everybody's got to get better. And guys get better. That's the good thing about college football is guys get better. Guys get better from year to year. Guys get better over the summer. Guys get better during fall camp. So having a guy like this who started as a freshman at a real program, I mean, I consider San Diego State to be a real program. It's not Louisiana Tech, it's not Florida A&M or something like that. I mean, San Diego State's a real program. Started there with freshman eligibility, as you mentioned, got 3 sure years of eligibility left, maybe even a 4th year with the COVID. But there's just no downside to something like this. So I love moves where there's no downside, there's only upside. And, if he can help us on the left side, if he can help us on the right side, if it moves somebody inside, I am not convinced that Justin Fry is done shuffling the line yet. I think they're just looking for the 5 best. I think this just gives you another piece to move around that's either going to be one of your 5 best or it's going to make one of your other guys better. And that's just great news for Ohio State. So I could not be more excited about this from that standpoint because, but again, I'm not calling. I don't think it's like it's locked in stone. This is your anchor right tackle that's going to be starting in the fall. But I don't think that matters. Any way you look at it, it's good news for Ohio State, and I love that because anything good for the Buckeyes makes me happy.
Yeah, again, I just love the competition. I think that, again, I was in literally a 3-way competition for the right tackle spot in '04 with Tim Schafer and TJ Downing, and we all rotated in with the first team. I missed the beginning of spring ball and the end of spring ball because I had shoulder surgery to miss the beginning, was healthy by the middle for the Jersey scrimmage. Then I got rolled up on severely and was out for like a month and a half with a really bad ankle. So I lost the competition. So, just because, someone wins that competition week 1 doesn't mean they're going to have it week 3 or 4. So, just because you win it, it doesn't mean, you have it locked in forever. Again, like Josh Proctor was our starting, adjuster safety or whatever. And all of a sudden, after 2 plays, he was never heard from again. And that was a guy that was being hyped and praised. And, in football, I mean, you got to perform. And on the offensive line, it's not like if you lose your spot, then all of a sudden you just come off the bench and you rotate in like in a basketball game or a hockey game. Like in the O-line, if you lose your spot and a guy excels, then all of a sudden you're watching. You're on the field goal unit and you're handing the guy who's starting in front of you his water bottle. So I don't know. But like I said, I like the kids' feet. I like the competition. Again, obviously they want more competition at it. And you know what? I'm fine with that. Because again, these guys have to be big boys. This is, it reminds me, what college football reminds me of now with the portal is it reminds me of the NFL draft. So the NFL draft is a great event for fans. But if you're a player on a roster and you're watching the draft, unless you're like a stone cold lock, like an Aaron Rodgers or Trent Williams or a high-end starter or a very good starter or someone who just signed a big contract, if you're a middle of the roster guy or a guy who's getting a little bit older, you watch that draft and they take a second round, if you're an offensive tackle and you're, getting older or you didn't play great last year, and they take a tackle in the second round, you're like, oh crap, that guy's probably coming for my job. Or if you're a bottom of the roster guy and they take a tackle in the 5th round or the 4th, if you're the Browns, number 3 or number 4 tackle that was on the roster last year, and then all of a sudden you see they take DeWan's probably going to push you off the roster just because, they didn't take him in the 4th round to not keep him on the 53-man roster. So it's kind of like, that's what the portal's like now. If you're if they're bringing in guys like, I mean, we could say whatever we want, but they want to enhance that room. And plus, the biggest thing is we just lost Ben Chrisman, a kid who was in our two deep, through the spring. So you got to bring in a guy to replace him in your two deep. So again, you shuffle guys around, you might bump someone down to guard. Obviously, Jacob James is going to come back, so he'll be working in. It makes you wonder if they move Vic Cutler to guard with Jacob James coming back at center, or if you put a three-way center in there, because Jacob James is the same age as Luke Whippler, and he's still here. Luke's obviously off to the NFL to the Browns, but yeah, I'm excited about it. So we're gonna watch this kid's tape again. We've watched it like 3 times on our show, so if you guys are familiar with it, we like to break these things down. Again, he's 77. I like the athleticism. When I watch this stuff, it's more about movement. It's not so much about technique. The technique can be enhanced. I don't like him jumping out here versus a 3 technique. I talked about this. He's going to get picked against a good team now. But he gets out there, he covers them up. He's got real active hands, which is great. It means he's been coached. Again, something that you can't coach when a guy's 6'6" is the long arms. When you can lock a guy out like that, that's huge. I couldn't do that. I was 6'4". He's 6'6", so he's got longer arms. Pushes the guy down. Again, the level of competition isn't great in some of these clips, but he does play Utah in the one clip. So, here's Fresno State. Again, not great competition, but, he gets out there, he gets to his spot. He does a nice job. And I think Justin will do some really good work with him. I think Mickey Marotti can make this guy into an absolute monster. But, it's just what's the kid's buy-in? Again, this is a little trap move. This is a move that's great against a bull rusher. When you have long arms like this kid does, you could chop this guy down and he puts his face right in the dirt. Again, I like the advanced hand placement. It's something that not everybody has. It takes some time. DeJuan loved to use that move. Again, getting up to the second level, cutting. Again, he's an easy athlete. He's an easy moving athlete. I think that Justin could do really good work with this kid. And, again, is he Paris? Absolutely not. But is he a guy that can really, do some things? Yeah, of course. But, Nevada, I know you're a little more, not lukewarmish, but you're more about the competition. But what do you think, what do you think of our current offensive line room? Because I think that the room is going to actually be pretty good. I know people think that I'm absolutely crazy. It won't be as good as with Paris and DeJuan now, but I think it'll still be a B+-ish type room, which is easily enough to win a national championship with the skill we have. But what are your thoughts on it?
Well, look, for people that are out there listening, you guys understand. Kirk and I talk every day. We talk about things. We talk about our thoughts on things. We compare notes. And so a lot of how I feel about the line and based upon 2 things. One, what I see and what I hear. And then 2 is talking to my partner who's a former All-American 4-year starter, 4-0 against Michigan, right tackle for Ohio State. So believe me, if Kirk was freaking out about the line going, Nevada, these guys suck. This is going to be the worst line. This is the worst line I've ever seen. We're going to be bad. Then I would be off on an island going, well, I disagree with you, Kirk. What do you know about line play? I think these guys are going to be better. So, I mean, I think we're going to be good because we've always been good. These guys are highly regarded. I think Justin Fry is a terrific coach. I know for a fact that, like, you look at this kid at San Diego State, he's been barely coached up. Like, as good as his hand placement is and his active hands and the other things he does, Justin Fry is going to make him 10 times better. He was absolutely blown away with the stuff that Justin Fry was breaking down for him. And that's one of the reasons why he came out and was so excited to make the visit. And when they were able to sit down and Justin Fry was able to kind of point out for him the things that he was doing wrong, things that he could do to improve, it really made the sale really, really easy and almost committed on the spot. So I think this is a kid that's got a lot of upside, is going to improve a lot. But, when you've got Tigra, who's a top 100 commit, and George, who's a top 200, and Zen, who's a top 300 high 4-star guys, I'm not writing those guys off by any means. I think it's going to be a great battle for the tackle spot. May the best man win. And like I said, I'm on Team Simmons now that he's a Buckeye. Couldn't be more excited about having. But like I said, depth just breeds competition. As you said, sometimes it can be a curse when you've got 2 titans out there at tackle. Like DeWand and Paris, because like you said, practice. What do you? I mean, I know you're practicing to get better, and I know but you're not going to play. You're going out there knowing no matter what I do today, no matter how well I do, no matter how much I'm not playing, and that just plays on your mind in some way. And so I think for this open competition is just going to bring out the best in everybody, and I think it's an open horse race. Like I said, I definitely am not penciling him in as the starter. And for, other people can do that; they can say this, but I don't think that's the way it's going to go down. I think it's going to be, let's see who does it over the summer, let's see who does it over the fall, let's see who can get it done there. But it's like I said, it's only beneficial for Ohio State, and so that's a great thing.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said, when I was a freshman and I was redshirting, I knew I had no chance to play, and Shane Olivier was ahead of me. Like I made the initial two deep out of camp. I was actually the left tackle behind Robbie Sims out of training camp, and then after like 6 games, since our offense could barely score 24 points, like we literally were like Jim Bowman and Jim Tressel, like, look, we're gonna redshirt you because if you get into the game, like the Washington game, we were blowing them out. And all of a sudden, it's time for the twos to go in, and they don't put me in, even though I'm the second team left tackle. They put TJ Downing in, and he'd already burned, he'd already redshirted the year before, and I honestly didn't want to play my freshman year just because I was too light. I wasn't where I wanted to be. My goal was to start for 4 years, and I knew that if I played that year, I was going to barely play. Like the second team on the line that year only got in versus Washington and Indiana, so I practiced hard because I was on scout team. I was going against Will Smith and Tim Anderson and stuff. But that next year, when I had a chance to win the starting job, every day is like the Super Bowl. Every day I'd go to practice is like games. It's the Super Bowl. It's Game 7. It's like Mamba mentality, whatever you want to call it. You're trying to take a spot. And you've got guys, that their dream is to start at Ohio State and go to the NFL, and they're in the way of your dream. So you're a little bit sharper, you're a little bit tougher. Go to bed a little earlier, eat a little bit better, work out a little bit extra. So, that's what I like about this summer. This is going to be a great summer for that offensive line room for Coach Mick and for Justin Fry. Like if you need motivation right now when you've got 2 open tackle spots, I don't know what else you need, because the problem is like if you lose the job and this kid's got 3 years of eligibility, like that's tough to unseat. So you better not ever let him get the job. So like I said, if you're Tigra, if you're Zen, if you're George Fitzpatrick, man, you better be in that gym. You got a 2-week head start. It's not going to be here until the middle of May. So you have a chance to really do everything you can to hold this guy off. Because like I said, he's a good player. And he played football last year. A lot of these guys didn't play football. They were just, they're on the field goal unit or they're with the twos. Like this guy was the first snap of the game right tackle out of D1 program. So I think you got to account for that. And again, I think he's a nice, easy athlete. He's long. He's 6'6". Like I think that this is a guy. Obviously, Justin thought enough of him at UCLA to consider him and potentially offer him. So I think this is a guy. He's better than where he landed. I think that he mentioned the COVID thing was something where he didn't take any visits and he didn't want to go somewhere he didn't visit. He's from Helix High School, which is the home of Reggie Bush and Alex Smith. So that's kind of a Southern California local thing to go to San Diego State. Again, like I have friends that went to San Diego State. They loved it out there. So it's not hard to go to school. If you can go somewhere on this earth, like San Diego isn't the worst place in the world to go, but it's just not big. It's not Ohio State level football and training. But yeah, like I said, we've watched his clips. We've got a little bit of his high school tape, which this isn't really great tape because he's playing defensive line, but we'll cut that off. But yeah, I like it. So really good weekend for the Buckeyes. I mean, Lorenzo Styles Jr. jumps in the boat. We get the new running back from St. Thomas Aquinas, Jordan Lyle. Nevada, for us being, 2 weeks out of spring ball, how would you grade this weekend? We still have, Taiwan Malone is still kind of hemming and hawing, but we could go 3 for 3 potentially on transfer portals this weekend. What are your thoughts on what's going on? These coaches are about to hit the road. May is a very long month for Ohio State football coaches because they leave on usually Sunday and they're in a high school Monday and they're on the road until usually Friday. So May's a long month for these coaches, but your thoughts on what's going on this weekend and how good of a weekend was this for the Buckeyes?
A+ weekend, absolutely
Yeah.
A+ weekend. Considering the circumstances, considering this is second portal window time. Now you got to remember, this has kind of been sneaky, but Ohio State's added 7 kids via the portal so far this year. Like that's a lot more than at any point. We talked about this earlier in this thing. We're like, Ohio State's going to be more active in the portal this year than they've ever been before. And so people are like, oh, Nevada, no way, no. We've added 7 kids in the portal, and that's a lot. That's a lot for Ohio. That's a lot for any school. Certainly a lot for Ohio State. So Ohio State's starting to kind of embrace this new, kind of football. They're starting to kind of find their feet in terms of what they're doing. They're kind of, refocusing away from the NIL only kids, focusing on the NFL development, focusing on the success of the program type of thing, get drafted at the next level with sufficient NIL to, keep you off the Kirk Barton program of only eating McDonald's and ramen noodles every other day. Then no, I really feel good about what they're doing, and again, it's been an extension of Ryan Day found himself during the Georgia game. I'm convinced that. I've said that 100 times. I said that run up to the Georgia game. I said bet Ohio State. Ohio State in the points is a great, great, great bet. Believed they could win the game. Believed they should have won the game. Covered the spread easily. But I think Ryan Day found himself. The fact that he's willing to hand over the reins to Brian Hartline shows the confidence that's kind of building in himself as well. And I think the fact that he's willing to use the portal, strategically in terms of doing it, I like the way that we're positioned. I mean, I love what we're doing with the offense. I love the guys that we're bringing in. I love the fact that we've got 20 guys coming back. And defensively, I think we're going to be absolutely nasty this year. So, A-plus weekend for the Bucs, just continuing on a momentum of a great spring ball. And I'm sure it's going to be a productive summer and on to fall camp.
Yeah, again, Tyler Malone's the guy, I think he's kind of in a holding pattern right now. I don't think he's going to commit this weekend. I just got a text confirming it doesn't look like he's going to commit this weekend, but I threw his film on anyways. He would be a nice add as a D tackle. But again, the hard part for a kid like him is, he hasn't played at Mississippi State. He had 10 tackles last year, so he's kind of a late game rotational piece, kind of a third, fourth defensive tackle, nose guard type guy. So he's probably going to want to go somewhere where he can start right away, and he's not going to start over Ty Hamilton. He's not going to start over Mike Hall. He's not going to start over Ty Leak. So at best, he's number 4 at best. So it'll be interesting. I'm sure that he's an NIL kid just because of the Ole Miss thing. I got word, on Wednesday that, Ohio State asked for $400,000 this weekend for in NIL play money that they could kind of delegate to some of these guys. So, I'm guessing, they probably weren't giving it to Lorenzo Sells Jr. just because he's a legacy and he's going to come here anyways. But some of these other guys, they got to open the vault up to try and get him in the hole. And I'd imagine it's probably more for him and Josh Simmons. I don't know what they would give Josh Simmons, but he skipped the Florida visit. That's just kind of the new reality. And plus the Jordan Lytle thing. I mean, that's something where, this is the new world. I think he'd be a great fit. Again, I think that adding another D tackle, we got our O tackle that we needed, adding another D tackle, I think would be huge. This is a big athletic kid. He wanted to play baseball. I thought that was a mistake. I think it's too hard to, once you get up to college, man, it's too hard to do both. Like there's very few guys that are gifted enough to actually be good enough to go pro at both. There's maybe a handful of guys that could have ever done that, but he wanted to play baseball, so he went to an SEC school. But this guy's an NFL defensive tackle if he wants to be. So be interesting. Like I said, I think that getting into a good rotation, getting into a spot where you got JT Tuimoloau and Jack Sawyer and Mike Hall and Ty Leak and Ty Hamilton, it's beneficial. I think that the iron sharpens iron, and plus when you have other guys that are prolific pass rushers and guys that I think are going to really step up and ramp their production up this year, you don't get double teamed. No one's going to be worried about this kid when you've got JT Tuimoloau on the edge and Mike Hall. If you're between JT and Mike Hall, you'll never get double teamed. They got to double team one of those two guys because those two guys are, I think, first team All-American type talents. If Mike Hall is healthy, again, I watched him in the spring game. I know the spring game doesn't mean much, but you can still evaluate the movement, the quickness. Those guys, those defensive linemen know they're going to get vanilla pass blocking schemes, so they're getting after it. And Mike Hall, in the limited snaps that he played in the spring ball, was getting after it. I mean, he's a guy that he was going after our center snap hand every other play, switching up his moves. He's got a bunch of different moves he likes to throw, and it's really cool watching him now that he's healthy. And now that there's nobody blocking him, because Jerron Cage is gone, Teron Vincent, two guys who didn't get drafted were soaking up snaps that I didn't think they deserved when you had more talented guys. If we can get Ty Leak locked in, Ty Leak is kind of the defensive version of DeWand, ultra talented, not ultra focused, needs hard coaching, needs to have, you need to have kind of your foot on his throat the whole way just to get the ability out of him that he has. Because again, some of these guys, they're so talented that they don't really have to work the way that they really need to work, if that makes sense. And Dewan is a classic example of that, which is why he fell to the fourth round. Dewan's a kid, could have been a top 5 pick if he was really, really, really locked in. But just based off of his talent, he was a fourth round pick, and it's something where I think Ty Lake's the guy that just off of his talent, he'd be a fourth or third round pick defensive tackle. But he's got, if you can really get your screws into him and really get him to play hard and get in shape, he could be a top 10 pick, and that's the thing that these guys, the sand is running out of the hourglass every single day, in terms of their eligibility and their clock counting down if they want to be a 3-and-out guy. So it's going to be really fascinating to see how that goes. But this kid would be a big help to us. Like, I'd love to get him. Again, I think he's underproduced and he's tried to do too much playing 2 sports at Ole Miss. And now that I think that baseball's out of the picture, it'll be interesting to see where he ends up. But Nevada, any rebuttal to any of the stuff I just talked about with our interior D line? Because again, I think our interior D line is everyone's worried about the offensive line, but I mean our interior D line, we need to get one more guy, and plus we just need to get more production out of a couple of these guys. Like I actually love Ty Hamilton more than probably most because he's just a monster. His brother Devon just got a $38 million extension or whatever it was with Jacksonville. So you can see what NFL people think of his older brother. And I think he's kind of the same type of beast, but he just didn't come in with the fanfare that Mike Hall and Ty Lake did. What are your thoughts on that, Nevada?
Yeah, no, I'm a big Ty Hamilton guy. I think he's a surefire starter, probably the most surefire guy to start on the interior line. But I agree with you. I think we've got question mark. We don't lack for talent, or we don't lack for guys that were highly regarded coming out of high school. But do we have an awful lot of production that we can point to from the interior guys? No, we don't. And so
No.
we've got question marks. So it certainly doesn't rise to the level of concern or fretting or lining up on the ledge or something. But I definitely have questions. And so adding a guy like Malone, if you would add a rotational piece, would add a guy that's in the mix, would add a guy that provides depth, because I don't really have any idea how good he can be at Ohio State. But having more bodies that you can kind of throw at this, and I feel like it's kind of it's like playing poker where you just keep getting dealt cards. You kind of see if you can make a hand with it, because you're never quite sure. And I've been doing this for over 2 decades right now, and I'm just never quite sure who's going to emerge. And some of the guys are the can't miss, and you can pretty much bet them with all your chips that they're going to be great players. But for about the other 90% of the players, you just don't know. You just don't know who's going to be great and who's going to be pedestrian and who's going to be felled by injuries and just never have a chance. Who's going to miss the window to grab that spot and somebody else gets in front of them. You just never a chance to see him play. So Malone would be a nice one. I think we'll know a lot more about that in the next 24, 48 hours. So we're definitely keeping our ears to the ground on that one to see if we get that commitment. But no, as you mentioned, for me, my concerns really, again, concerns. I wonder about McCord. I have concerns about the interior defensive line. I now, after this weekend with Simmons, I have less questions about the offensive line, but that's the order for me because, or maybe place kicker. Throw a place kicker in there because I'm not sure. I know Parker Lewis can't lose, but hopefully he can make kicks when we need him to make them.
Yeah, like positions I'm more worried about than the offensive line. Safety. We just had our 2 starting safeties not get drafted, and we have a bunch of guys that are coming in. I think Lathan is a great player. Obviously, people just remember the slipping against Georgia, but I mean, our guys tailed off bad in the last couple of games at safety. So I'm more worried about safety times 10 than I am the offensive line. More worried about quarterback than I am the offensive line. I mean, people think I'm crazy, but I mean, CJ Stroud was the number 2 pick in the draft, and we had this massive amount of talent, and we couldn't beat Michigan and Georgia with a massive talent advantage against Michigan and, a pretty comparable talent to the Georgia team. So, I'm worried about our quarterback because I think CJ Stroud made it look easy. I think a lot of people think that Haskins to Fields to CJ to whoever is going to be an easy transition, but those players made it look easy, and those guys are top 15 NFL draft picks. Can Kyle McCord or Devin Brown bring that level of consistency? I think they can Because with Marvin and Emeka, I mean, you're guaranteed to have 3,500 yards and 35 touchdowns with those two. Then you had K, then you had Trey, Brandon Ennis, Carnell Tate. I mean, you've got weapons on weapons on weapons. So, the line will be fine. I think the quarterback will be fine just because the infrastructure is so powerful. But, I want to see what we do at safety. Who wins those safety spots? Obviously, you could put Lathan in an ink. Do they stick with Josh Proctor, who ran with the ones? Sonny Styles get in there. Jahad Carter. There's a lot of guys. Kai Stokes. A lot of guys want to bang the door and kick it in and be the starter. So I've got to figure out who it's going to be. Got a quick question, Kirk in Nevada. Hold
on. Before you go that, because I got to ask you this question.
Sure.
I want to hear your answer to this question, because this is something that I haven't heard this talked about on any podcast or anything, and I don't see this on the board. But with all the talent that we had last year, and with CJ Stroud, and with all the talented weapons that we have, and Ryan Day, how did we score 3 points in the second half against Michigan? We scored 3 points in the second half against Michigan.
I have no clue.
We want to talk about we want to burn Jack Sawyer in effigy and hang Lathan Ransom and fire Jim Knowles and attack his family. We scored 3 points in the second half at home in perfect weather against Michigan last year, and nobody talks about it. It's amazing to me.
Yeah, we screwed up the fake punt that was wide open twice in a row. I mean, again, like there's a million things that went wrong in those last two games that, again, when you play a team, because the only two teams that we had with even comparable talent last year were Michigan and Georgia. I mean, in Michigan, I think our talent far exceeded what Michigan had on the field that day, but they still whooped us, for whatever reason. Like the scoreboard was 42-21, but yeah, you're right. I mean, we only had 3, and when we needed the offense the most at the end of the game, when we needed to get 10 yards at the end of that Georgia game, we didn't do it. So, again, and that was with Paris and Dewan and first round tackle and a kid that should have been a first round pick that ended up being a fourth round pick. So, again, I think that there's learning lessons. I think that, again, I'm not trying to go down that road, but, there's a lot of guys that could have done a lot of things better. And it starts at the top. It starts with the coaching staff. And I think that that's something where, they got to go back and say, hey guys, like we can't keep wasting these top 15 quarterbacks and not winning the Big Ten and not beating Michigan and losing to, Shea Patterson and these JJ McCarthy, these like turd quarterbacks that won't even get a sniff in the league, So again, I think that there's a lot of things that could be better. Again, I'm more worried about safety because we started Rocket Hickman and Tanner McAllister, and those guys didn't even get drafted, and Rodney left early and didn't get drafted. So, again, and there was a lot of dissension in that cornerback room. We started Cam Brown. He didn't get drafted. So, 3 of our 5 starting guys on the back end didn't get drafted. Teron Vincent didn't get drafted. Our starting, nose guard or 3 technique or whatever you want to call him. Jerron Cage, who played a lot for us. It didn't get, so, I mean, you're talking about like 6 or 7 contributors on defense that didn't get drafted. The league didn't even think enough to invite most of those guys to the combine. So, again, like I think that are we going to be better on defense? Yeah, because we added Davison Igbinosin. We've got some guys that are really motivated to get out of here in 3 years, like Jack Sawyer and JT Tuimoloau. So big time guys. So it is it's going to be interesting. I think Mike Hall being healthy is huge. Again, these guys all want to be like Paris. They all want to be like CJ. They all want to be like Jackson. They want to be 3 and out. So magically, these guys, they sharpen up a little bit when it's time for that. This is their money year. These guys want to, I know JT wants to get out of here. So they got to have more production from a pass rush standpoint. They got to work on their bend. I think that the guys in the back end have to play better. A guy like Sonny Styles, like he wants to be a 3 and out type of guy. I'm sure of it. So, again, there's going to be a lot of competition. There's going to be a lot, I'm sure Davison Igbinosin wants to be a 3 and out guy. He's in year 2 now. But again, I think that our talent is better on defense this year. I think it's really evident when you see what the NFL thought of our defensive players versus our offensive players. But yeah, you're right. Like, I don't know, when we needed it the most, our high flying offense wasn't high flying. And I think that we can get better from that, because I think that you're gonna have a bunch of hungry guys out there, a bunch of guys that aren't, with their mind on the NFL and their mind on staying healthy. And, they're not checking out of the games or they're not thinking about skipping the bowl games because these guys don't have that option because these guys got to go prove it. So on the Heartline tip, I don't think that the recruiting, he's already on the recruiting trail. So I literally don't think there's going to be any charges. Nevada, I think you're in agreement on that one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be something handled internally, and Brian's going to learn and be better for it. That's all.
Yeah, I totally agree. See if we got any final questions. Yeah, Michigan had 9 guys get drafted. But again, like, when we had, when we have a number 2 overall pick at quarterback, that kind of is like the euchre trump card for Michigan having their kicker and punter get drafted. So the 9 guys, when you've got the number 6 pick, the number 2 pick, the number 20 pick, again, and then you've got Marvin Harrison coming back. I mean, we had a massive talent advantage over Michigan. Like, I don't care what anybody says with Emeka, and we were down in running backs, but even still, we still had far, far better players. Michigan's running back, who was heralded an All Big Ten guy, like, he actually came back because he really wasn't viewed that highly by NFL types. So, again, I think it's just one of those deals. Yeah, like I said, I think that it's gonna be interesting to see what happens going forward. But this is a huge summer for this team. I mean, this team's gonna have a big summer. They got to get their minds right, and this has to be a nasty physical summer for Mickey and those guys in the strength room. I'm just telling you, they gotta figure out who's going to be the guys that you can count on going into training camp. I've been there. Again, like, after we got smacked by Florida and we had to come back that next year, like, we had a really hard spring ball, really hard summer, and we needed it because we lost Troy Smith and Gonzo and Ted Ginn and Pittman and Quinn Pitcock, and we lost some fantastic players. So, we had to figure out who we could count on. We lost, Doug Dadish and TJ Downing and guys that were, multi-year starters on the O-line. So we had to grind and figure out who are the guys you can count on. So, well, Nevada, I'm going to wrap this one. What do you got? Any final closing thoughts? Great weekend for the Buckeyes. As we get into May recruiting. But yeah, any final thoughts for us?
No, just this was a great weekend. This is like, you're going to the weekend with some question marks. You leave this weekend with less question marks, which is always always great for the Buckeyes. And recruiting's heating up, and they've got a couple more guys that are on the thing for commitments. And for me, it's about filling blanks and making sure you have less question marks leaving spring ball heading into the summer than you did going into it. And that happens when guys get injured, that happens when guys transfer out, and we've been able to, knock on wood, dodge the injury bug. We've been able to dodge the big unexpected leave bug, and we've been able to add some pieces. So now I'm really excited. I think this is building up to be a big year for Ohio State, and can't wait to get after it.
Yeah, I totally agree, guys. Appreciate you guys as always. Thank you. We're gonna have a special guest here in a second, so we're gonna shut this one down. Again, if you enjoyed this, please give us a like, subscribe, and again, we appreciate you guys as always. If you enjoyed this, click that alert button. Shout out where you're from. Again, I love when you guys do it. I love seeing Japan, Colombia, Toledo, Temecula, California. I see all you guys on there. I love it. I appreciate you guys so much. Thanks for tuning in. About to have a special guest, so you might want to hang around in a second on the YouTube. So you guys are going to be really happy with this one. So hope you guys are good. You guys have a great rest of your day. Appreciate you as always. Thank you so much, Buckeye Nation. And thank you, Scoop family. I will see you on BuckeyeScoop.com. Oh, point that way. You see it, join it. It is your new home. It is the best in the business. And you guys, telling you, once you get on BuckeyeScoop.com, man, it's the place you're going to be living because people love being on our site. It's fantastic. We have a great crew of people on there. Bill the Bank Green is killing it right now. So it's going to be some good stuff. So appreciate you. You guys have a great rest of your day. Go Bucks.